Buonasera a tutti, possiamo iniziare. Buonasera a tutti, benvenuti, un saluto anche a coloro che sono collegati da remoto. L'incontro di questa sera è l'ultimo del public program che ci ha accompagnato nei mesi scorsi alla scoperta degli artisti e dei temi della mostra Nature Cultures, realizzata dal Castello di Rivoli e da OGR Torino con il sostegno della Fondazione per l'Arte Moderna e Contemporanea CRT ed il contributo straordinario della Fondazione CRT. Mostra che potrete ancora visitare fino nei binari 1 e 2 delle OGR fino a domenica. Abbiamo affrontato numerosi argomenti in questi mesi, alla presenza di grandi ospiti. Abbiamo parlato naturalmente di arte povera, con molti dei protagonisti proprio del movimento dell'arte povera. Abbiamo parlato del rapporto arte-natura, del rapporto natura e artificio. Abbiamo parlato di ecologia, di cambiamento climatico, di tecnologia. Ecco, questa sera chiuderemo davvero in bellezza con un tema che direi essere quanto mai attuale. E ho l'onore di presentarvi il dottor Stefano Buono, un fisico di fama internazionale che ha lavorato per molto tempo a fianco del premio Nobel Carlo Rubbia e che tra le numerosissime suoi impegni nel 2021 ha fondato una startup, Nuclei, che ha sede a Londra e Torino, e che si propone un obiettivo davvero decisamente sfidante, e cioè quello di produrre un'energia nucleare pulita. Ecco, questo sembrerebbe un ossimoro, in realtà potrebbe non esserlo e dottor Stefano Buono ci spiegherà come mai. Probabilmente vi chiederete, ma questo cosa c'entra con l'arte, cosa c'entra con la mostra Nature Cultures? A questa domanda risponderà l'altro ospite che abbiamo qui questa sera, Carolyn Christov-Bakargiev, direttore del Castello di Rivoli, Museo d'Arte Contemporanea, già direttore di Documenta, curatore di fama internazionale, co-curatore di questa mostra, con la quale proveremo a capire se l'arte, con i suoi molteplici linguaggi, con la sua capacità di interpretare, di leggere il presente, possa in qualche maniera esorcizzare un po' il timore che abbiamo di fronte a questi temi e proporre delle letture, degli scenari alternativi. Io ringrazio il pubblico che ci ha seguiti con molta passione in questi mesi, vedo tanti che sono venuti a tantissimi appuntamenti, vi ringrazio voi che siete qui stasera e il pubblico da casa. Ovviamente ringrazio gli ospiti che sono qui con noi, che hanno accettato di essere qui con noi. Lascio loro la parola e auguro a voi un buon proseguimento. Prego, Carolyn.
Forse dico due parole in italiano first.
Ok.
Buonasera a tutti e grazie di essere con noi per questa avventura, questa conversazione che cerca di portare vicino due mondi che nell'antichità erano vicini e in molte civiltà del mondo erano vicini, ma che nella modernità europea sono stati separati per le specializzazioni necessarie nei vari settori, cioè la scienza e l'arte. Questo incontro sarà in inglese che possa essere seguito a livello internazionale e da tanti artisti interessati in tutto il mondo e da tanti, spero, anche scienziati, perché è il primo incontro a livello globale tra arte e scienza sul tema di domandarsi se l'energia nucleare può essere un modo per combattere il climate change. Climate change is an extremely important issue for art and for culture at large because, as everyone knows, we are in the period of the Anthropocene where the waters are rising, the glaciers are melting, and we need to imagine ways to take care of the planet per le generazioni future. Quale pianeta vogliamo lasciare per le generazioni future? E siccome la scienza e l'arte hanno in comune che we're in the business of eternity, cioè siamo nel business dell'eternità, capiamo l'importanza di questa fundamental research, ricerca fondamentale. So, this is a picture of an atom. It's an image which I chose for this conversation. And it is an image of something in the center and something moving around it. The electrons moving around the nucleus of neutroni and protoni. So it is a very godly image. Se pensiamo alle rosette nelle chiese antiche, in tutte le religioni del mondo, troviamo un simbolo del genere. Quindi questa essenza della vita o dell'energia è anche di una bellezza straordinaria e di una potenza straordinaria. Ma atomo viene da atomos, e quindi la cosa che non si può spaccare, non si può e non si deve. Il negativo di tomos, insomma, e quindi dal verbo tagliare, la cosa che non si taglia. Quindi tagliare una cosa che non si taglia è un po' giocare a Dio. So the first question I have is, as one of the physicists on the planet working in nuclear energy research, do you feel like God?
This is a question probably for the people who discovered the Higgs boson in CERN, because this is named the particle of God. Because this actually is the particle given weight to matter to the energy, but it's too complicated, let it drop. No, I think you will see this is very simple. This is very simple physics and understandable. So no, we don't.
Okay, well, what I was speaking about a moment ago was the fact of climate change and bringing me to you. I seeked you out and searched for you. And this is a typical example of culture-nature. Ecco un'immagine dell'incontro tra natura e cultura. È una residenza sabauda di un grande architetto, Juvarra, davanti a una potenza incredibile che sono l'emergere delle Alpi, e questa potenza incredibile, che è stata una sorta di spinta proprio continentale, ha poca neve adesso, ha poca neve e pensiamo che non possa tornare. Parlando non con un fisico, but speaking with a biologist, he said, no problem, Carolyn, il pianeta is fine. Ricordo parlavo con Tarkovsky, epigenetista alla Rockefeller University, e non era preoccupato per niente e diceva non è un problema il cambiamento climatico, non ci sarà la specie umana e tante altre specie, ma il pianeta dopo 3000 anni è perfetto. Era un pochino preoccupante. Shocking. Okay, shocking but true. Before I pass on to science, so Stefano ci spiegherà tutto dell'energia nucleare stasera, dalla A alla Z, e dell'energia nucleare cosiddetta pulita, alla quale tende, he's striving. The other day you told me 20 anni, 20 years it will take more or less, but 10 years and less for the intermediary steps.
Of course, yes.
Yes. So before that, subito prima, vorrei metterlo nel contesto anche della nostra cultura. Qui abbiamo un esempio di un grandissimo quadro del 1842. Già nel 1805 Turner lavora a dipingere tempeste nel mare, nuvole, tempeste. Gli studi climatologici all'epoca erano molto all'avanguardia, ed è una steamboat, cioè una nave a vapore che è dentro una tempesta e che forse collasserà in un shipwreck. Quindi come se William Turner già vedesse il disastro che stava arrivando con il carbon fossile, cioè con l'eccesso di estrarre da dentro la crosta terrestre qualcosa che sono alberi praticamente senza ossigeno, che sono diventati gas e petrolio, portare dal sotto fuori, e l'impatto che poteva avere sulla società. È molto pericoloso. Per esempio, questa è un'immagine di Witness è una famosissima immagine, ma che rappresentava moltissime città dell'Inghilterra dell'Ottocento, che non sono così adesso. E questo era Londra nell'Ottocento Victorian, le case erano coperte di soot, di black burnt coal, di carbone bruciato, ma oggi sappiamo che invece non è così. E quindi un argomento di cui vorrei parlare a breve, quando passo la parola, è la questione della paura del nucleare, perché se si fossero fermati alla paura del carbone fossile non avremmo avuto Londra molto, molto più pulita nel XX secolo. E quindi adesso siamo arrivati alla fine forse del carbone fossile, ma all'inizio era una catastrofe, non c'era ancora una situazione sicura. So that's a metaphor that I'd like to bring. And then a few more things. Marcel Duchamp and the Great Glass, the Large Glass, one of the most important artworks of the 20th century. I see Marcel Duchamp in this photograph in 1915. He's reflecting on technology, he's reflecting on machines, he's reflecting on the ability of humans to think mathematically, la beauté de la mathématique he would talk about, but he's also accepting the broken glass, the accident in his work. So the large glass breaks and he accepts it and incorporates the accident in the artwork. And then we have the question of waste, nuclear waste or waste in general, the aesthetics of waste, l'estetica della, come si dice, dei déchets, nuclear waste.
In English or in Italian?
Rifiuti, nucleari. So that from something which we throw away, and this is the key to your incredible research and invention, the key to the future, from something that we throw away or want to throw away, like nuclear waste, you seem to have found a way to use it. And artists have had the idea of waste as an aesthetic potential since the early 20th century. Nature Cultures, l'equilibrio fra cultura e natura nell'incontro di Giuseppe Pennone. Questo è un albero che è a Kabul, anche in mezzo alle guerre, in mezzo a quello che è il ritorno dei talibani. L'opera è lì, nei giardini di Baghe Babur Donato, e l'opera è nell'incontro fra l'umano e il non umano, perché il marmo resta e l'albero cresce diversamente per via dell'incontro. Quindi l'incontro fra noi e questa materia atomica. L'ecologia nella nostra storia dell'arte, ecological concerns passed through Joseph Beuys, of course, the importance of planting trees, and they also passed through indigenous knowledges. This is Cherokee artist Jimmy Durham, who made a monument out of the trash to tell us in 1996 that we were heading towards a catastrophe. And of course, Olafur Eliasson, the beautiful presence of absence pavilion around the melting of the ice in the north. Okay, so.
I think that now you will realize the first difference from an artistic mind and a scientific mind. You tell me to speak English, I speak English. You're creative and you're switching between Italian and English. So what should I talk? In English?
Well, it is the first conference of this sort worldwide. So
let's continue in English, but then I make you stick to your to your own language.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so I think you really put the basis of what is the situation, the concerns about the climate change. And this has created actually what somebody calls a nuclear renaissance. So an interest into the nuclear energy. And I wanted to highlight a few reasons why this is very important for the climate, for the planet. The first thing that I want to show you and want to explain to you is that nuclear energy is 1 million times or million times more concentrated than any other form of energy, like chemical energy. So I made a comparison. I thought about my telephone, and the difference with the old computers. I took a second generation of computers, with the computers done with transistors, and this is the difference in size. So today, if we wanted to use our telephone with a device made of transistor, we need, I think, 4,000 of these machines, So, a full building, this would be covered. So think about, you are in the future, you are today, and somebody...
Telephone.
Yes, somebody tell you, well, instead of your phone, you have to use something that is 1 million more massive, and it's impossible. So we would laugh today that if we would use this kind of technology. And it's the same for the energy. Sooner or later, the mankind will really use this kind of energy. There is too much of interest because we will use also 1 million times less waste to do this, less fuel, if you compare with fossil fuels, but also less waste if you compare what we have to build to create all this chemical energy. So I'm a strong believer of this energy for the future of mankind.
You're saying that if we use nuclear energy in a secure way, we will resolve the problem of 1.2 or 1.5 increase in temperature globally.
I think that nuclear energy is the energy needed to substitute the fossil fuels.
Okay.
The rest has to grow, has to be implemented, is very important, but this part needs to be needs the support of nuclear energy.
So how does it work?
Yeah.
The simple ABC.
Yes, it's very simple. You have a chemical reaction that, like firing on the right, very small energy. Electron volt is a measurement of a physicist. On the right, if you just split one atom, you create, in this case, 2 million times the energy that in this system. So nuclear fission is generated by neutrons that are part of nuclei that goes on heavy elements like uranium that are fissile. So when they touch it, they can decay. And in this decay, there is a lot of energy that is released, but also many neutrons. And those neutrons released can create the chain reaction that is needed to sustain a nuclear reactor. What I want to show here is that actually this is the need in terms of fuel of a human person over all of his life. This is 88 tons of coal, but only 35 grams of material if we take one of our reactors. So there is a huge difference in terms of utilization of material. But the fact that we use so little material means that in terms of volume or quantity of waste, there is also very small quantity of waste. It is radioactive, it is hot, but it is very few. So I took a few images of how the nuclear waste is contained. In the bottom left part of the picture, this is the high-level waste repository of a full Switzerland. All of the Switzerland, 5 reactors, all over the country, this is the waste. Personally, I prefer that the waste generated by energy is not spread into the air, into London, that doesn't cover the buildings that you don't breathe, rather than containing 1 million times less waste into these containers. I mean, these containers we can control over our life. The volume of the nuclear waste globally in the world is a football field of 10 meters high. So it's really, when we're talking about waste, I wanted really to put the accent on these two things. The general public doesn't understand the quantities we are talking about. So this is very important.
So
And
the entire planet nuclear waste with the old reactors that are not as good as the new reactors is one football field. The entire planet.
Yes,
of 1 metro.
No, 10 meters.
10 metri per un football field.
Yes, this is the fuel.
Okay. That needs
the volume of the fuel that has been used by all the reactors.
But it stays for 300,000 years.
A small part of it.
A small part of it. Okay. So.
Yeah. But, you know, a chemical waste stays forever.
Yes, yes. And that brings us to the
deaths. Again, there is part of this waste that after a few hours is not a waste anymore. It's a new material. Anyway, and this is the toll of human deaths, not has been generated, but has been saved by nuclear reactor. So the exercise of this publication has been to take how many, in average, how many people died because of the carbon in the world, because of disease generated by pollution. And they calculated how many people would have, how many lives would have been saved if instead of burning carbon, nuclear energy would have been used. The number is almost 2 million. But in general, globally, if you take a very conservative number, so a lot of deaths, the number of deaths has been only 5,000. So there is a real balance. And this is the part that we inhalate and create a direct damage to us. But the damage to the planet is this 64 billion tons of CO2 equivalent that has not been released in the atmosphere because of the nuclear energy that has been generated. So if you really approach nuclear energy from this point of view, you realize that you do want this kind of energy. So you do want that this technology is mastered. It does not represent a fear anymore, and that is you know, considered in the energy balance of the future. Very rapidly, actually, the number of deaths in the 3 major accidents that we all know, 3 Mile Island, the first one in the US, Chernobyl and Fukushima is really, really small. We can say that after 35 years from Chernobyl, because we have all of the clinical studies showing deaths that should have generated by thyroid cancer or other form of cancers, compared to the incidence of deaths in normal conditions. And all of the international reports give this number. So, of course, 35 years ago was different. People was impressed by the information at the time, and why they thought about horrors and death, etc. Because actually, nuclear was born just before the war, was discovered just before the war, the nuclear fission. And actually, think about it, the first use of a nuclear reactor was actually a bomb. And then there was the Cold War. So this nuclear military application, not civil application, was used to scare countries. Yeah. And then the Chernobyl accident arrived, and essentially this concluded all the inspiration to make evolve this technology. So since 35 years, there are no more research in this field.
Can you explain us some facts? Like, what is the difference between the chain reaction in a bomb and the chain reaction in the old reactors because we have not yet spoken about what you're doing. We will. But in the old reactors, what is the difference between that and a bomb? So you take some uranium.
Yes,
I'm
you,
going
you
to
have
like
to
cooking.
you have to take really other materials. You have to enrich the uranium, or you have to use the plutonium.
Okay, but uranium is a metal. Let's say it's an element,
Yes,
and it is particularly
unstable.
because it's particularly heavy.
Yes,
So-
it's unstable, but not so much, because every few million years you find half of it.
So it decays.
It decays,
in a-
but very gently.
Okay. So
And it's actually making the heat, half of the heat of our Earth
Yes,
is made by the radioactive decay of uranium.
under the crust.
Yes.
Okay, so Fermi and his group, they take the idea, well, first of all, Einstein finds that matter and energy are connected. So
Equivalent?
so 1905 and then 1916. But then we go fast forward to 1938,
Yes.
Fermi and so on, and they find out that if you put enough uranium together, because it's unstable, it
You
will
can provocate the chain reaction we were...
the chain reaction.
Yes.
And the chain reaction means that some energy is released
Yes.
when two or three neutrons come out,
And then you continue this,
and two neutrons go hit other atoms, and one becomes the heat,
Yes.
goes up and hits
So
the water.
in a bomb, you try to make this reaction in a second. And to do this, you have to make completely different design. You have to really make a device that create an implosion, compressed material. So the idea that the nuclear power station can explode like a bomb is science fiction.
Science fiction. But the reason is that you put other elements inside. So you put, I'm just going to explain come in una cucina, perché mi piace cucinare. So, prendi l'uranio arricchito, lo metti in barretta nell'acqua calda, e esso comincia a fare la sua reazione.
Yes.
Due neutroni picchiano altri atomi, uno va su, scalda l'acqua è una specie di bollitore.
You start to increase the temperature because you create a lot of energy.
And it makes the turbine.
And then you turn a little bit lower the gas, because you want to control, don't want to...
But how do you do that? How do you slow
with
down?
With control bars, with devices.
Other materials.
Yes.
That
dump the...
Okay. So the reason why we are afraid of the old system, you explained to me once, was because the old system with water...
Because in the first design, there was always a way to make a human error and make not a nuclear explosion, but an accident that created a chemical explosion, a chemical accident, actually. So create too much heat, meltdown, emission of hydrogen and hydrogen explosions, and so on. But nothing, the danger, the consequence of a nuclear accident is not in the event in itself, is the contamination from the radiation.
From the radioactive, let's say,
elements that are
elements that go into the atmosphere.
Yes,
because you were using water.
Yes, and the accident of Chernobyl, which was the worst one in this sense, with the radioactive cloud reaching all over Europe, has proven not to have created any increase of cancer after 35 years in every region around the power station.
You're telling me that the old nuclear stations for energy could never explode like a bomb, never.
Not a nuclear explosion.
Okay.
We have learned a lot from this accident. So the design of today, they are inherently safe. They don't need now to control any malfunctioning, But the idea is to let the physics do the business of controlling a power station. So creating a configuration, a power station that can turn itself off in any situation.
Like Zaporizhzhia, it's turned off.
Yes, but this is still active. They turn it off. Imagine you go away from a power station designed today, or you try to bomb it, or you try to make an accident. Whatever happens, you increase the temperature and the power station stops by itself, by physics. So there is no possibility to make an accident anymore in the many modern designs that are already working, and in all of the future design, because this has been the concern that science has tried to answer. The first concern was the fear of an accident. So I would say that the today power station, they should not consider this fear at all, because also, even the old one have created very few direct deaths.
Yes, but now arriviamo alle idee geniali.
When you talk about art, you talk in Italian. That's a sign.
I love Italian art.
Yes, is the language of art?
Well, that's what many people in the past thought, including Winkelmann and many Germans. But anyway, to go back to this, your genial idea originally, I mean, your long-term plan, if I understand well, the long-term plan is to use something that shoots particles, splits the atoms, so a
different reaction.
A different reaction, and there's never going to be a chain reaction in the future, and you can use nuclear waste as fuel.
Yes.
That's your idea. Yeah. And on top of it, it's a new idea to use liquid lead, piombo, instead of water.
Yes, because it makes this disappearing of the nuclear waste possible.
Because it doesn't explode come una pentola a pressione and go in the atmosphere. It just stays there, the lead.
It helps very much. You can make passive safety. You can implement this so-called passive safety, also thanks to this material. So there are a few materials that really allows very easy safety measurement to... when I say very easy, I said also very cheap, because it's important that the energy of the future is cheap. So what we are trying to control is also the cost of our systems.
Yes, so you see, everyone, that art and science is the same thing. Because when we talk together, we talk about materials, reactions, time, temporalities, space, transformations, metamorphoses. We are talking about the same, let's say, universe of things. But to go back in between now and the end result, so the perfect 6-meter tall reactor che basta per tutta una città and all of that, in between there's some steps of using fission, but using waste, MOX, whatever you call it. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I have some picture after to explain, but I can explain.
Where are the pictures?
Yeah, that's...
but I thought this was my picture, the next one.
Yeah, but it's after, actually.
Oh, okay, so I should go back in with art?
Okay. Yes, why not? Okay. We are talking about waste.
Waste, ok. Allora, we were talking about fear. Stavamo parlando delle paure. Why do I translate? Because I would like it to be accessible for all of the people who are here. And in the art world, we are always trying to be local and global, and local and global. It's very difficult.
So you said the science they don't understand either, so...
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
no, please.
I loved this image. So when we were preparing the PowerPoint, I really wanted to keep it, because this is a picture of the first nuclear bomb test. So we're in June or something, 1945, in New Mexico. And it is an incredibly beautiful image of an incredibly powerful event and very, very scary. And shortly after, Salvador Dalí paints this painting, Uranium and Atomica Malinconica, l'idillio tra l'uranio e l'atomica malinconica. I think this is the crux of the question, because for art and for philosophy, there never is anything good or anything bad. It's extremely complicated. There's never anything necessary or unnecessary. Even being alive is not necessary. We don't know. So art is a field of ambiguity and ambivalence and questioning. So Salvador Dali sees the bomb in the eyes of Atomica Malinconica in her face, which is a little bit metaphysical still, like a De Chirico. We have the eyes of the airplane that dropped the bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But below, on the bottom to the left, we have Uranio. So Uranio is in love with Atomica Malinconica. And this painting tells of the contradiction between the most potential source of energy and the most amount of death in the mid-20th century. So if we think that all of the nuclear power stations would never have happened if there had not been the research for the bomb, then we have a strange contradiction in our soul, in our mind.
Well, hopefully it would have happened after, which would have made the civil nuclear energy more successful.
Yeah, maybe. But unfortunately, military funding is often behind the most important technologies. Also today in digital technologies, I mean, it's really, it's a law, but it's always been that the research in armaments has been at the basis of then civil society research. So we have nuclear medicine and we have the atomic bomb. So this painting by Dali really tells you what it was to be alive at the birth of nuclear energy in this world. And Jackson Pollock, I believe, was also reacting to that world, to that pulverization of the atoms, of this atomic age. They used to use the word atomic era, atomic age, and it is this world where there is no perspective, there is no depth, there is no Renaissance space. There is a field of marks that are all entangled on the plane. And we're talking about the years in which the basic research was being done in your field. So in Italy, we had the Nucleari, Movimento Nucleare, l'arte nucleare, 1952, 54, 57 exhibitions, il manifesto, which says, you know, le teste degli uomini sono carichi di esplosivi, ogni atomo sta per scoppiare, i ciechi, cioè non nucleari, ignorano tutto questo. So it's the awareness of Icaro. Icaro is not aware. Icaro flies to the sun and falls. But the artist and the philosopher is aware and sees both. And often the scientists are not aware, and often the scientists are aware. I
hope you are.
Yeah, I think so. I think many artists have been aware.
But so, we are not aware of what's next. Often the discovery drives the innovation true. And new theories.
But so. we are aware of what's next, because Ci buttiamo and its visionary, unfounded, unscientific knowledge, but often it is aware. So l'arte nucleare, a cui erano vicini anche altri artisti, Piero Manzoni, many great artists, Lucio Fontana, and so on, it really was, I think it was not against nuclear energy nor in favor of nuclear energy. It was astounded by this ability to break the to break the atomos and actually do it. So I see Lucio Fontana's concetti spaziali, especially the Fine di Dio. We're talking 2 years after La Baia dei Porci, no? The nuclear standoff.
Yes,
1 year after.
Maybe 1 year.
Yeah. And in Japan, where the bomb had gone, we have artists developing gutai, some of the most extraordinary works and we have Atsuko Tanaka making her electric dress in Japan, and we have Gerhard Richter in his early work, Unable to Breathe. You know, it's a self-portrait with a mask. It's about the fear. So for me, this artwork is the most intense image of the post-Second World War fear. And this continues until the 2012, more or less. The Otolith group did a beautiful piece about Fukushima in Japan, which was a radiant sun, was still like that. But here we go back to you, because everything changes, I think, after 2012.
Yes,
What's
so
that?
I think you asked me how our reactor works. I think the order is a little bit...
We can go back and forth.
I think, yes, I think we can show a small video on our machines. So we are coming back not to science, even to technology, which is a level below, because we just want to tell also you what we are doing, why I'm here talking about these new reactors.
I nuovi reattori saranno contenuti in cilindri di acciaio di 3,5 metri di diametro per 5 di altezza. Il combustibile è costituito da circa 10 tonnellate di plutonio e altri elementi, cioè dalle scorie più radioattive prodotte dai vecchi reattori. La reazione nucleare è 100 volte più efficiente e un pieno può produrre energia per 15 anni senza generare altre scorie pericolose. Il calore è raccolto da un flusso di piombo fuso che lo porta a uno scambiatore dove fa bollire dell'acqua che si trasforma in vapore per andare ad alimentare un normale generatore di energia elettrica. Il piombo che avvolge il combustibile nucleare è anche un ottimo schermo per le radiazioni. La sicurezza del reattore è assicurata da diversi meccanismi passivi che dipendono cioè dalle sole leggi della fisica e non da macchinari o dall'intervento umano. Se la temperatura sale troppo, la reazione nucleare si spegne e il calore si disperde da solo.
So very simple, 1 minute show about how a reactor works. It's just a water heater. So you just have heat, and you transfer the heat the best way you can out of this nucleus, and then you make the energy. And
Can I ask you, how does it work? Perché riesci a usare gli scarti nucleari come benzina, diciamo, come fuel? How does that work?
because we are using this lead, and we keep the neutrons more energetic, so they can burn with a lot of heavy elements that have been created by the older reactors. So you have an uranium, natural uranium, and then these neutrons, slow neutrons of this generation of reactors comes to the atoms, and they're absorbed and became heavier elements, neptunium, plutonium, americium, curium. These heavy elements are, some of them decay immediately, others, they really stay there for hundreds of years. If you keep these neutrons with a lot of energy, and you have to use the lead to do so, then you break. Every time a neutron hits heavy elements, uranium, it breaks. So ideally, they would not create plutonium, americium, etc., etc. The reality is in between, but the amount of heavy elements can be always controlled, so they remain always the same. There is a limit, they are created, and then they all burn. That's why we can burn. If we put more, we can burn all of this material.
So, to summarize, with this new system, you can use the nuclear waste of the old reactors as a fuel.
Yes, we make a fuel with all the nuclear waste that has been created by the older reactors.
And
because in the old reactors, you only use 5% of the intrinsic power that you have in this matter. So we try to use much more. We recycle over and over this material to use much more.
And what comes out as waste?
Other elements. Many elements, all of the elements you can think about it, rare earths, etc., in kilograms.
But are they nuclear?
They are all radioactive, but the radioactivity can disappear in 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 year, or maximum 30 years, hundreds of years. That's the goal, to reach to a small quantity of material that after a few hundred years is really, you can go and mine rare earths in this material. So you can mine back, the materials that you might need for the industry.
So you're actually cleaning the planet of the nuclear waste.
Yes, I think this is just at the beginning. We can do this with plutonium, which is something that scares everybody because
What is plutonium?
The plutonium is the material created by the nuclear reactors that can be used to make the bombs. So this is the first thing to eliminate.
Yes.
That's very important. But this is the beginning of the technology. We can do it today. In 7 years, according to our program, we will have the first reactor burning the plutonium. So that's very close. We know how to do it immediately. And then we can work to eliminate maybe a few other elements that represent less danger. But if you want to clean, the technology can make you clean everything. But you don't have to put into the environment your waste. If you put your waste into the environment, you cannot control it. You cannot come back and change it and reprocess it and give this waste another use.
And once, I think at dinner, you told me that the nuclear waste that's on the planet now is enough to power the planet for 150 years. The whole planet.
For thousands of years. Yeah.
Thousands of years.
Yes.
What is already on what we made, what we produced.
So we will not mine anymore in our machines, uranium.
For thousands of years.
Yeah, we will use what is available in the repositories.
Okay, now, does that mean that the British will be very rich? Because if I'm not mistaken, the British have bought a lot of the...
Yeah, they have the biggest quantity of plutonium in the world.
So like Italy sold, Italy paid UK to take its nuclear waste.
Yes.
And now that waste is your fuel.
Can be used as a fuel, yes.
I tell you, la perfida Albione non finisce mai.
But they have been the...
No, sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, sorry.
No, so actually a few words on what we're doing. We have our research team in Torino, but it's an international company. We are in London and we are in Lyon, because France and UK are the countries in Europe where now the research has been enforced and with support from the government. So these are the places where we will be building our machines, but there is a lot of research that is done here in Italy, especially 1 kilometer from here. We have a research center with almost 200 people working on these designs. Just a picture to show 2 of our reactors as compared to the old reactors of the old generation. So you see, when you hear about small modular reactors, it's really small. So it's not a huge designs and the huge realization that costs billions of euros, of tens of billions of euros that you hear in the press today and in this period especially. But they're completely different machines. The business model is completely different. And the miniaturization is also one key to get to a sustainable cost. And then, as we mentioned a lot of times, the fuel we want to use is coming from the plutonium that has been created from the civil use of nuclear waste, but also from the military use. So actually, there has been, many years ago, the willingness of all of the countries to dispose of the nuclear bombs that have been created during the Cold War, but the plutonium is still there. So the material is still there because it can last hundreds of thousands of years. So we want to destroy it. We can destroy 1.5 tons of plutonium every year with this power installed in our reactors. And considering that the free plutonium in the world is a few hundred tons, this makes the possibility of burning all of the plutonium really at reach by deploying this technology. And also, as I mentioned to you before, so I have to go fast in this part, we have implemented passive safety system for this
Why do you have
design.
to go
Because
fast? You don't have to go fast. It's fascinating. Go at your pace.
because we have already touched this. This is an image of all the patents, all the Italian know-how that is around this design, so this innovation. And this is a bit of our plans. In 5 years, we want to build a non-nuclear demonstrator in Italy, in Brasimone. It's very easy to do it in Italy because most of our scientists are here. And because in Italy there has been a lot of research in the past 30 years around lead. And our research center, ENEA, it's one of probably the most advanced research institution in the world on liquid lead. So we had the opportunity, incredible opportunity to do it here.
But isn't it illegal to make a plant in Italy?
No, because it's not nuclear. We are only testing the instruments, the components, the pumps, the physics, the thermodynamics, everything. We can test new materials for the future. So it's really a testing facility for everything. Since you need to get a license in UK and France, having the possibility to run tests without have the safety that is around the nuclear reactor made things faster. So we really need something that had no radioactivity at all. Instead of having these fuel bars, we have heated roads. So we have to actually buy the electricity and not sell the electricity. We have to buy 10 megawatts, which is 70,000 euros per day.
Oh my God.
of bill.
But why not do it in France or in England then? Build it.
Just because we want to spread the know-how and to get the know-how from all of the 3 countries.
Yeah.
So actually, everything concerns this research on liquid lead is very strong in Italy. So it's good to continue this research in Italy. And then when you go to nuclear, you have to go and you have to deal with the nuclear safety authorities. You have to start to be in a nuclearized country. So these 2 first of a kind that we'll be building will be in France and in Italy. And
once you told me that the liquid lead, it goes in at 430 gradi, it goes out at 450 and then goes
yes.
back. That's how we get.
Yeah, it's always heating the lead and then
it's like a boiler.
It's a boiler made with lead, but then at the end you create vapor and you use the same turbines that you use everywhere. So it's very traditional. It's just the material, just the combination is different.
Okay.
So the research center of Italy is in Brasimone, is almost abandoned. We are making complete refurbishment of these of this old research reactor, and we are giving this research center a new life with many people coming from the company, and I hope many people coming from the.
We should invite some artists.
I think, yes, please.
Artists in residence.
Yes, I think that could be the first transformation that you might do. That's a wonderful project.
Yes.
Save the Brasimone site, because the nature around is fantastic. We are in the middle of the Apennini. I wanted to tell you that I want now to connect a little bit with beauty and art. There is a lot of private companies that today are trying to make a new project of small modular reactors. And actually, for the first time, we don't want to see anymore this horrible architecture. And many of the companies are actually trying to do nice manufacturing center. And you see some of the examples. There is on the NuScale is an American company, Rolls-Royce. Look at the building of Rolls-Royce, very different from Brasimone.
Rolls-Royce?
Look at Oklo, it's an American company. It's like a mountain retreat. Maybe, I don't know if they will be able to maintain such designs. I hope so. But it's something that is happening. I'm very happy it's happening because we also do want our facility to look completely different from what is the image of nuclear energy in the past. Even Norman Foster has designed has made an industrial design of a reactor for Westinghouse. This is a nice picture because it's a transparent shell. At the end is a iron shell, but still, even him has contributed to this. And these are other design of very, very small modular reactors because they want to do reactors so small that can produce 1 megawatt of power, so not a lot.
But with these
for
little
example,
things,
they want to put it on the moon.
But that's what I was about to ask. Can we make those,
Yes,
new
the NASA
communities?
has just done a call for tender, and all of this machine has been participated to a call for
Then you
tender
can
to
make a
install
nice
a nuclear
planet.
reactor on the moon.
Yeah, we could make mountains and trees and all sorts of things.
With the power, you can do a lot of things.
Can do a lot
Not
of
on the moon because you don't have a lot of oxygen.
Elements. We have to go to Mars.
But Mars, yes. Yeah. In
I
principle,
thought that
you
was
have.
just in the brain of Elon Musk. But anyway, okay.
Of course, you need nuclear power. In the 90s, working with Carlo Rubbia, we have designed with Agenzia Spaziale Italiana, the Italian Space Agency, a vector to go on Mars using nuclear fission from an americium reactor, something very sophisticated.
Well, okay. Sorry.
So,
Back on Earth.
Yeah.
Back on Earth. Back on Earth. Back on Earth. A question which I ask all of you who are here and all of those who are listening is a question that you were not able to answer, and I am not able to answer because I have not done the research. But at a certain point, the term atomic energy or atomic age passed, and suddenly they started using the word nuclear energy. Now, of course, it is true that atomic energy is based on splitting the nucleus of the atom, not the electrons running around, but still it is a shift in the use, which I think has something to do in my mind, to detach the association from atomic wars and bombs, atomic bombs. So there was a new, like a semantic innovation and a shift to the word nucleo. But the word nucleo is so beautiful because it comes from something very much at the core of our being alive. It comes from the core of the noce. The nucleo era il cuore della noce per i Latini. And it is therefore a very, very ancient idea of core, and it is strangely connected to the word nous in Germanic, which does not derive from the Latin. It is in an independent etymology, nous coming from nhutu, which is Old Germanic. So both in the Latin languages, in the Romance languages, and in the Germanic languages, you have a same common root. So it means it's coming, probably, if I remember well, my university studies, it's coming from the Indo-European roots, which were common to the Celtic languages and so on. So it's a very, very, very ancient word and a very beautiful word, which can be used to think about our relationship with the planet and the ecology. And it is not only about humans who need to not make cities polluted and not become extinct because of the CO2 in the atmosphere. It's also for the nuts. And
this gives me the idea that we should plant a nut tree around our installation. Thank you.
You see, I'm already a consultant for you. Yes, you should, or you should make it in the shape of a nut or something, or plant nut trees. I think since
the Rolls-Royce design was very similar. Huh?
Yeah, that's interesting. So this just makes me think about issues around energy in the last years. I mean, in Torino, we have the fantastic work, The Sun Has No Money, by Olaf Eliasson, who was thinking about solar energy as a free energy, infinite energy, without any limitation. He made this artwork for Torino for the Castello di Rivoli, and thanks to the very fortunate relationship between the Castello di Rivoli Museo d'Arte Contemporanea and the Fondazione CRT per l'Arte, he was able to make it, and we were able to collect it. So now it's part of the patrimoine, the heritage of great masterpieces that are in Piemonte. But that is a piece around solar energy, but it shows the attention of artists towards the question of energy. I think what's happening now is a very strange moment. I think that we are very close to a detachment of the association between bombs and war and accidents, nuclear accidents, and the nuclear energy. Artists who are growing and working in the digital age, they see a continuity between nature and culture. There's no discontinuity, and the human interaction through predictive statistics, which means using writing algorithms, can actually allow for a kind of artificial and non-artificial environment to develop, and there isn't so much of a fear. So here we see Pierre Huyghe creating a beehive, which is an artificial beehive, created by the algorithm that decided that in that branch, in that tree, because of the conditions on the island of Kistefos, the bees would enjoy that location. So there's a form of agriculture and a form of civilization which is not a human civilization. It's a human, scientific, together with other species intelligence, the intelligence of bees or of nuts or of trees. This is another image of this feedback loop between the natural and the non-natural, because the algorithm is constantly fed the data of what the natural environment is doing. So this continuity seems to be in the consciousness of artists. This is the study that every day is going on in the computer to how to connect with the island. But what I mean by this is that there are new imaginary systems that artists are developing of a no difference between human and non-human. And it means a shift. It means that we have to stop thinking about me, 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 me. But sometimes when you think about the bee, you actually are helping the human. So I think that in the future, the imaginary systems that are developing with artists are of a much more optimistic nature. This is, for example, introducing oysters in an area where salmon is being cultivated and the salmon is eating pellets to make it artificially red. So by introducing the oysters in the menu, so in a cultural field, you're actually cleaning the water from the pellets, which are making the salmon red. And this is the piece that is the installation in the museum about the salmon red herring. Another artist that I believe you have met.
Yes, she was interested in a particular material that is nuclear waste. So I hope she will be maybe working on it.
Well, maybe we invite her to your residency program.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Agnieszka, she is indeed very, very interested in waste. So dal Merzbau to her, it's waste. This is post-Fordytes, a mineral that is created in Ford factory plants over the years of painting, layers of paint. So it's like a geological formation which is generated by the human. It's not the first. I mean, there are also blue minerals in ancient Egypt that are created by the human and that exist in our list of elements. And I'd like to end with Human One, because in a way, Beeple's Human One, he is walking in a landscape of waste. He's dealing with the waste, the digital waste of Buzz Lightyear and Smileys and trash of the digital world. no one is really thinking about the trash in the digital world too much, what to do with that trash, which is enormous, data constituted by data. But I believe that he's in a landscape which is maybe your nuclear reactor on Mars, or maybe in Detroit, or maybe somewhere else. But it is something that I thought, what do I have to do?
No, just click again.
Just show for a minute. And imagine, we have to take the volume down. But it's an imaginary system which is very different from the imaginary system connected with fear of many years ago. So although there are no artists working on the nuclear right now, there will be.
Yeah, I hope so, really.
Oh, we have to end with Irene, Dionisio, of course. In speaking about new imaginary systems, Irene Dionisio, who's an artist and filmmaker from Torino, who's now winning all these prizes and almost never in Torino. She's not with us this evening, but she did a very interesting piece recently about the mondo nuovo and the new imaginary systems which are connected with what you're doing. But she's studying how those imaginary systems are done. So she plugs in to the social media and grabs from the internet all the images that people are in their normal social media putting in to their, connected with the word Eden or paradiso or heaven and so on. And so basically this is not a creative painting made by an artist. It is actually just a collective painting made by a collage of all the images that thousands of people around the world at the same time are using to depict the mondo nuovo, with a reference, of course, to a very famous painting, which I forgot in the PowerPoint, which is Tiepolo in Mondo Nuovo, of course. But so that's that. And you want to do the last slide?
Yeah, I think there is no rest. We want to thank you for your attention. Almost. I don't know if you have foreseen some questions.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Questa immagine non è fatta da un artista, è fatta da Stefano.
Sì, no, pensata da noi.
Questi occhi.
Ma era per la società precedente, medicina nucleare.
Avete ascoltato pazientemente, immagino che qualcuno ha dei commenti o delle domande, anche polemici, perché è ovvio che è un argomento estremamente controverso e quindi ben venga.
Il segreto di non aver domande, scusa, è di fare molto tardi. Siamo andati un po' oltre forse il nostro tempo.
But maybe somebody, I can't see. C'è qualcuno che vuole intervenire? Sì. Abbiamo un microfono?
Volevo solo fare un'osservazione, perché si è molto insistito sulla relazione tra la bomba atomica e l'energia nucleare. Non sono d'accordo al 100%, non dico che questo non esiste, ma non sono d'accordo, perché la vera associazione era la guerra porta alla bomba atomica e purtroppo questa associazione non ce l'abbiamo più, la mia generazione ce l'aveva, questa la sta perdendo, tra l'altro non siamo coscienti di quello che può succedere. E per sostenere, diciamo, questa mia opinione, dico questo, che a parte che chi ha più sofferto la bomba è stato il Giappone, e il Giappone ha le centrali nucleari che noi non abbiamo. Ma a Torino addirittura c'è stato un momento, credo sia stata un'intervista pubblica di un personaggio molto importante che voleva fare un impianto nucleare al Valentino.
Questa me la sono persa.
Credo che sia scritto nel libro di Silvestri, Il costo della menzogna. In Italia abbiamo fatto ricerca, abbiamo sviluppato anche lì dei reattori come dire, di un concetto unico ed esclusivo, tipo il cirene, no? Che significava CISE, reattore a nebbia. Mi ricordo che negli anni 70, ministro torinese Don H. Ten, c'era un piano, ne avevamo già 3 centrali nucleari, per fare altre 10 centrali nucleari, che poi sarebbe stato raddoppiato. Quindi io non vedo l'associazione tra che l'energia atomica l'energia nucleare
Capisco.
non è stata implementata per questione di paura, no?
No, era per, credo, un po' capire la sensibilità delle persone che lo associano e noi non vogliamo.
Sì, però come si è finito? Perché appunto bisogna tenere conto che tra i pochi potenti, prima di Tangentopoli, andati in galera, c'era Felice Ippolito. Cioè, queste robe qui, la storia, secondo me, bisognerebbe riprendere un po' la storia e capire, insomma, che cosa ha bloccato allora e che cosa potrebbe eventualmente rilanciare. Insomma.
Grazie, ok, grazie. Credo di aver capito che la mia ipotesi che l'influenza della corsa per le armi nucleari abbia diminuito un entusiasmo iniziale per la ricerca sull'energia nucleare possa essere sbagliata. Senz'altro può essere sbagliata. Io continuo a pensare questo, ma soprattutto quello che premeva dire adesso questa sera è che nulla hanno a che fare le centrali nuove, cosiddetta energia nucleare pulita, con quelle vecchie centrali dove poteva succedere un meltdown e una fuoriuscita nell'atmosfera comunque di radioattività. Per cui non esiste da parte mia una critica a chi ha voluto non andare per quella via in Italia. Io non vorrei politicizzare in nessun modo questo incontro, perché è comprensibilissimo che si possa pensare che sia pericoloso una fuoriuscita all'epoca. Quello che ci premeva e mi preme è che ad ogni artista con cui parlo e dico "Oh, I have to introduce you to Stefano Buono and blah, blah, blah. You know, also people really wanted to meet you."
Yeah.
Quando parlo con gli artisti bravi mi dicono "Ma non è possibile immaginare che non si risolva il problema del riscaldamento del CO2", cioè è che nessuno sta guardando fuori dalla box, cioè gli artisti sono abituati a pensare fuori dalla box. Perché nei percorsi universitari sugli studi rispetto a diminuire l'impatto del cambiamento climatico non c'è il percorso nucleare? Perché? Perché è un tabù, ma queste ricerche sono basate non su produrre altri resti nucleari, materiale radioattivo, ma su consumare come nostro combustibile, quegli scarti. Quindi è un procedimento ecologico di fatto di eliminazione di scorie nucleari. Gli artisti con cui parlo sono tutti affascinatissimi da questo e sono certa che il loro contributo, o almeno di alcuni di loro, perché non esiste la categoria artisti, cioè c'è Caravaggio, capirai che cosa c'entra con, non lo so, Bernini, nothing, per cui sono diversi, ma alcuni artisti sono sicura, perché vedo dalle loro reazioni, e anche filosofi sono interessatissimi a quello che sta facendo Stefano. E cosa significa? Significa che si sta per fare un cambiamento dei sistemi immaginari, which is my expertise. The imaginary systems in a society is my expertise. So I'm interested in the beginning of that shift. And when that shift happens, there's a cambio di paradigma, you know? It takes a little time, it gets to a critical point, and then cambio di paradigma. Cinema, letteratura, filosofia, poesia.
Mi sembra che questo cambio di paradigma stia un po' succedendo, vedendo i giovani, per cui io sono molto positivo.
Ecco, grazie molto. C'è un'altra domanda or we call it a day?
Allora, per lasciarmi, vi lasciamo una nota di un po' simpatica di umorismo che ha qualcosa di artistico. Il primo reattore che ha mai funzionato nel mondo era la combinazione di un reattore metallo-liquido, come vogliamo farlo noi, nel 1951. Ha acceso qualche lampadina, no? E in quell'anno hanno celebrato con un video musicale questo evento, questa accensione delle prime lampadine, per cui mentre ci salutiamo c'è questo video un po' divertente, questo video musicale sull'energia nucleare come era vista negli anni 50 da un cantante.
A team of scientists led by Mr. Walterson had built a breather, unlocked the energy within. Enrico Fermi saw everything that could be. We switched the breeder on and the neutrons made photons. Clean power forever within our grasp. By splitting atoms, it's come to pass. Tomorrow will be so great. Clean power forever. December 20th.